What's up, guys? This is Jay from Generation Geek, and today we have a most powerful feats list for no other than Dr. Manhattan. Yes, the big blue dingaling himself. We have Dr. Manhattan on our queue for today. Now, Dr. Manhattan is one of the most powerful characters in all of comics, and I'm talking Marvel and DC. He is literally like cosmic level being, multiverse levels of power, and we guys are going to see how powerful he is in this list today. As always, if you guys are new here, please like, share, and subscribe, and join the Geek fam. We'd love to have you. Now people are more familiar with Dr. Manhattan and the rest of the Watchmen universe, of course, with the recent crossover with DC and the Watchmen, which Dr. Manhattan came over, brought all of the Watchmen characters, Rorschach, Ozymandias, all those characters over with him, the comedian, things like that. And they had the big crossover in which Dr. Manhattan pretty much destroy all reality. But Dr. Manhattan, whose name is really John Osterman, got his powers from being basically atomized and deconstructed from this intrinsic field subtractor, in which he was completely just obliterated, and he got all of these godlike powers in which he was able to reform himself, days at a time, starting with like a skeletal system, then going to a muscular nervous system, and then eventually coming as we know him to be Dr. Manhattan. And Dr. Manhattan has a slew of impressive powers. He's obviously able to grow into gargantuan type of heights, like literally as tall as skyscrapers. He's able to go intangible. He can literally blow people up. He literally can control anything. Like in this one scan, comedian said that he could have turned the bullets into gas, or the gun into gas, and the gun into flowers. He can literally pretty much do anything that he can think of. We've watched him deconstruct machines and materials. He has telekinesis. He has obviously energy manipulation. He can duplicate himself. He can walk through walls. He can lift heavy objects. It's really pretty much nothing that Dr. Manhattan can do. He is the epitome of a Superman. What a Superman can be, you're talking about a human going into a super being. He is the peak of what a being can be when it comes to power. Now, some of his most impressive feats, aside from killing my man Rorschach, which was my favorite character in Watchmen. I saw the movie when I was young. It made me so sad when he blew up Rorschach. Like literally, it crushed me because I never read the books. All I saw was the movie at a young age, and when I saw that, and I remember just saying Rorschach, no, to this day is the saddest scene to me in movies. But yes, he blew up a slew of people, including Rorschach. That's pretty much his go-to. He doesn't really waste time using energy projection and things like that all the time. He just waves his little finger and people just explode. But now when he came over to the DC universe, we saw him do some incredible things. This man literally is a quantum cosmic observer. Dr. Manhattan was able to manipulate the entire DC multiverse. Yes, the entire DC multiverse. He was able to manipulate it. He changed time. He moved Alan Scott's lantern, so he never formed a JSA. And when Superman never had a template of what a hero should be, he did a whole bunch of different things. He wiped out the entire JSA to where we never knew who they were. He created the whole new 52. Like, he shifted things so much around. He even removed his father, Jor-El, from the destruction of Krypton so that he actually still exists in the main DC continuity. Like the whole thing that we knew about Superman, his parents dying, the exploring planet of Krypton, which usually comes from what they usually say is like the core, sometimes it's Brainiac. We never get a clear, concise answer into what really blew it up. It keeps changing, but he saved Jor-El from that explosion to where now he is Mr. Oz and he actually lives in the main DC continuity. But when it comes to straight like fighting feats, we really couldn't see much of that in the Watchmen universe because Dr. Manhattan was just so much more powerful than everybody else. Like literally, he was the only superhuman in the Watchmen universe. Everybody was either like super smart like Ozymandias or really good with weapons and guns like the comedian. And then you had people like Owlman, who basically is like their universe of Batman, who had all the gadgets and the owl ship and things like that. But there was nobody even close to Dr. Manhattan's level or anybody with any real significant power. But when he came over into the DC universe, we saw him actually get into conflict with other heroes and villains. Like we saw from the beginning when they actually confronted him, I believe it was on Mars, we actually saw Guy Gardner actually try to attack Dr. Manhattan. And he literally punches him so hard that he breaks his neck. And Guy's like, oh, that was easy. And of course, Dr. Manhattan just appears behind him, reforms and fixes his neck, and then just takes out Guy Gardner and actually explodes his Green Lantern ring because he wanted to see what was inside of it. And he's like, wow, this is so amazing. A power ring that is generated power from literally emotion. Like that was so fascinating to him because obviously he didn't have this in his universe. Everything here is so new and so different. He also would take attacks from a slew of characters like Firestorm, Big Barda, a whole bunch of Green Lantern, Supergirl, Shazam, Stargirl, everybody. He took all of these attacks. They barely budged him, barely hurt him. I think really Firestorm and Captain Atom's attacks probably bothered him the most, but then it's right back to normal. Literally, Captain Atom detonated his entire body, created this big old explosion. He was like, get Blue Beetle out of here. He's finna see what Captain Atom's about. He thinks Superman's gonna end his life. No, it's gonna be Captain Atom, and it just detonates. But of course, it does not take out Dr. Manhattan, and he literally just takes them all out. And then we're like, okay, cool. We usually see beings that come from science. They usually have some weakness to magic. But no, not Dr. Manhattan. All the magical characters inside of the DC universe, I mean all of them, Etrigan, Zatanna, Blue Demon, all of the magical people that you could think of, Constantine, they try to attack Dr. Manhattan, and literally this man takes the magic from them and explains to them, you guys think that you're using something new, but basically you're just using the leftover discarded parts of creation. He's saying that's what magic is in the DC universe. It's the leftover parts of creation. They're outcasts. These leftover pieces are found by outcasts, and they use this, and then it becomes magic, and they become, you know, these super teams, these magical teams, or these magical beings. And he literally takes all the power that they're shooting at him, all this magic, reforms it, and does a spell of his own and counteracts all of them and knocks them out. Dr. Manhattan is able to manipulate magic. Like, and mind you, at this time, he's still learning all these things. These things are new to him because he doesn't have this universe. So he finds all this stuff fascinating. So he's not even trying to hurt them, as he's really trying to figure out what is going on. Also, Dr. Manhattan has this linear view of time where everything is pretty much happening to him. Like, he can see his own future, right? That's his ability. Like, he doesn't see everybody else's future. He sees his future, and it's on a linear time. So everything for him is happening all at the same time. Like when he met Silk Spectre, you know, in one moment he's meeting her, and then years later he's sleeping with her. So, but they're coinciding at the same time for him. So his perception of time is skewed, and that's how the whole Watchmen thing happens. Because you're like, well, how can you have a story with somebody who can see everything that's going to happen? Obviously, if it happens in a world, it'll affect his life, so he can pretty much see everything. Well, Ozymandias was able to create the machine that gave him his powers, and it kind of obscured his view of the future, so he didn't know what was going to happen next. But when he did, boy, did he have some of the best lines ever. So after they, you know, attack him, I think it was like the North Pole, it was somewhere cold, wherever Ozymandias was holed up when he set off his little alien monsters to destroy the planet to bring world peace, because of course everybody had to come together for a common goal. That was his plan, but he had to take out millions of people in order to get this goal. And Dr. Manhattan says to him, after Ozymandias tries to literally destroy him in the intrinsic field again, which of course he was like, I'm disappointed by it, very disappointed. And that basically restructuring himself was the first thing that he learned to do. And he's like, did you think that would kill me? He's like, I walked across the sun. I've seen events so tiny and so fast that hardly they can say to have occurred at all. But you are a man. And the world's smartest man means no more to me than does his smartest termite. And I was like, oh my God. He's like coming in. He's just giant. You know, obviously he's naked. He just comes through and just smashes through everything. Ozymandias is like panicking. And then of course he turns on the TV and he sees like, look what I done. Like, I basically brought world peace. And you can destroy me or whatever, but you can't go back and make all of this for nothing. All this life and all this death can't be for nothing. And then obviously Dr. Manhattan, being a logical being, he sees his view, and basically in a way Dr. Manhattan was defeated. He couldn't save the day because somebody actually outthought him. That's another cool thing about him. He is smart, and for all his powers, he is still so naive to so many things that he's constantly trying to learn, and he's getting these new emotions. He's trying to, you know, connect back to humanity, things like that. Super cool character, super good concept. A tough character to make work, but when you can, obviously super impressive. And let's not mention that Dr. Manhattan has beings like Mr. Mxyzptlk, or we can call him Mixie for people that, you know, it's hard to pronounce his name, literally fears Dr. Manhattan. Literally, when he's fighting Jonathan Kent, he's like, yo, we can't be doing this. Like, he's going to know what's going on. When he's talking about, he's literally talking about Dr. Manhattan. Like, even a fifth dimensional being like Mxyzptlk, who can literally cross over into our reality and affect his own writing, fears Dr. Manhattan. Like, okay, but what about a sixth dimensional being like Perpetua or something like that? Well, in that whole Dark Knight's run, in which the Batman Who Laughs got the power of basically a Batman who got Dr. Manhattan's power, and of course we know that depending on the universe, you know, powers can wax and wane between one universe being stronger than the other, but it's still, you're talking about infinite levels of power in a Dr. Manhattan, so he's super powerful regardless of what reality he's in. And this same Batman took that power from that Dr. Manhattan and was able to beat Perpetua, a sixth dimensional being above Mixie, and he literally destroys Perpetua, who was like this mother of creation and all this other stuff, and all the dark multiverse and all this other stuff. A multiversal being, and literally the Dark Knight, with the power of a Dr. Manhattan, was able to destroy her. I mean, they're using planets, they're fighting with planets and things like that, and this obviously scales to Dr. Manhattan when you consider their power. Of course, there's many other things we can say, but it all just comes to Dr. Manhattan basically being a god. I mean, he is the most powerful character, I believe, in DC Comics, aside from, you know, You know, people could say Lucifer Morningstar or the Presence and things like that. But as far as we know, when it comes to just the base characters that we see, you know, frequently in comics, Dr. Manhattan is probably the most powerful superhero of all time. You know, more powerful than Superman 1 million, more powerful than all these beings. Like, Dr. Manhattan is on another level. And that is my list. I love Dr. Manhattan for the simple fact, I love OP characters in general, like Dr. Manhattan, like Sentry, because they're so powerful that you have to be a good writer to make them work. Otherwise, they would just solve any issue that you have. So that's why I love characters like Dr. Manhattan. But what do you guys think? Is there a feat that I missed that you would like to see on here? Or is there a character you would like me to see me a top 10 feat list on? Leave those in the comments below. And as always, if you're new here, please like, share, and subscribe, and join the Geek fam. We'll love to have you. I have been Jay from Generation Geek. Y'all be blessed, and peace.